Hey there, welcome to the table, the virtual table. I tried to do the real table in this one because I do own this game. However, the software that I use for my camera, it's no longer working after the last upgrade, and I actually have tried to fix it multiple times. I've even tried to revert to original, reinstall it, all kinds of stuff. I'm having a bear of a time. It will not recognize my camera, so I am unable to record. Um, Physically record. Of course, I can do this because this isn't my camera. This is just my computer screen. So little different technology. This hooks up just fine. Just can't get my actual camera to appear. Um, so with that being said, we will do the virtual one. And what game are we playing, you ask? We are going to play Panamax. Now there's two different ones. There's a scripted one here, and I'm going to go ahead and open this, although we're not going to play it. Um, the scripted Panamax actually looks really good. Um, One of the things that is going to prevent you from being able to play this, at least by yourself, if you're going to do that, is this setup button won't work. You can say 4 players, but it says after all players are seated, press setup. It literally checks to see if you have 4 people logged into the game and assigned to, one of these 4 colors, right? And that's how it determines the number of players. I wish that these folks wouldn't get so cute with that because it obviously makes it really hard. But I was looking, and I think we could still set it up just fine. You just don't ever press that button. You just ignore it, and we could set the game up manually. Now, one of the things the game does is it has a bunch of dice. So here you can see it says 4 dices. Clearly, a non-English person wrote this, and you can see the pictures of the dice down here. But instead of actually giving you dice, it's all left click, right click. So left click to increase it, right click to decrease it. And like even this ship here has a die with a 3 on it, which you could turn to a 4 or a 5, um, etc. And I don't know why the color changed, but you got that issue. You have this here. I think this means you started with $18. I'd have to think about what the 6 means. I think that is the number of shares I have. Nope, that's the price of my shares, so it's $6 a share. That makes sense. Um, so by all means, you can do this, and all the ships have these little mechanisms on it. So instead of using actual dice, you got this. And I have to confess, I mean, I like the dice when I'm playing the physical copy, but yeah, if I'm looking for the 5, I can just do that. It's not too hard to do, and the way you're supposed to play the game is it's supposed to be like that. Like you have your different colored dice. The red player would have red dice on here, etc., etc. Um, so there's no reason not to use this. But one of the reasons I wanted to load it up is I wanted to demonstrate this. This is the rule book, and what you can do is you can click on Save Object. And when you click on Save Object, there's a root folder. You give it a name and hit Save, and it'll save the rulebook. And this is important, and I'll show you why. Because I'm going to go back out, and then we're going to create a game again. But this time we're going to do, this is the scripted one. This is the non-scripted one. So if I click on this one, you can see we have actual dice instead. Like there's a red die there. And there's no rulebook. This is a little bit of a player aid thing, which isn't even the full player aid, by the way. Oh, there it is. You just got to flip it over. So all you have to do then is click on Objects, Saved Objects, and you can see I saved the Panamax rulebook. So I'm going to click on that, and then bam, there it is. So now we got ourselves a rulebook that I can open up and reference while we're playing the unscripted version of the game. Okay, there is a solitaire module on Board Game Geek. This game is 10 years old, at least. I can't remember which one came out first, Madeira or this. I think Madeira came out first. The designers of this game are awesome. I love them both. I love a lot of the games that they design. This being one of them. Nuno Bizarro Sentiero and Paulo Soledad. I probably totally butchered their names. I apologize to them. Um, this one is one of my favorite games, and it's because it's an economic game. I love economic games. Madeira, I would say, is the better of the two in terms of replayability and strategy and um, making your brain melt, but yet it's satisfying. And maybe we can cover that game too. Madeira is a fantastic game. Um, there is a What's Your Game published Madeira, and they had a Kickstarter, I want to say 7 years ago, um, maybe a little bit more recent, um, to upgrade Madeira to like a pimped out, deluxe edition. And I am one of the backers of that, and it is one of the Kickstarters that may never actually be fulfilled. So the What's Your Game company looks like it's defunct. They have the rights to Madeira. They also had the rights to Nippon, which is another game that these guys made. I really liked Nippon, but I know my friends did not. Um, it's a Japanese industrial game. Again, I thought it was awesome. And they were also in the middle of designing this game called Brazil, which looks like it'll never ever finish because that was also a What's Your Game game. And What's Your Game is not responding to Kickstarters. I can't definitively tell you if it'll never be fulfilled, but as of right now, it's years, like 5 years or more beyond its delivery date, and we keep getting told they're 99% done, and we were told that 5 years ago. So my hopes aren't high. I mean, I really do hope that they find a way to fulfill it. Um, I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I would throw in another $30 if it helps. But yeah, it's a bunk. So I don't know how legal agreements work. Sometimes these guys design a game, but then the publisher owns the rights to it, and so you know if the publisher is not willing to move forward, then the designer can't. Their hands are tied, or you know, there's a lot of those situations that happen. But anyways, getting back to this game is fantastic. It would be my very favorite game from. Oh, actually, I said it is, but it has one fundamental flaw, and the flaw is it needs more components. And what I mean by that is there's certain end game scoring conditions and things like that that help drive the game and the goals of the game. And after you've played this 4 or 5 times, there are certain end game conditions that you can just expect to see, and there's not enough of them. So then every playthrough starts to feel the same. And now, if you can set that aside, this is still a fantastic game, and I really enjoy it, and I would love to play with anybody who's willing to. The problem is my gaming group has the exact gripe that I just told you, and it's a fair one. I can't argue against it. Now, Madeira is a complete game. They have a couple expansions. Um, it is a game that you can truly replay over and over again and have a different experience. But Madeira is benefiting from there's a lot of extra components thrown in. So, anyways, I don't know if Stronghold Games still controls this one. I would love to see a reprint of this with a more elegant, stuff. But the last one, like I said, with Madeira, is really bad. So we got to set it up. And before we do that, let me close this out and just explain the game board, what you're seeing here. This is the Panama Canal. And I guess before I go any deeper, if you're looking for the playthrough, that'll be video 2. We're just going to go through introduction and setup here, and my apologies for not mentioning that earlier. So Panama Canal, north is at the bottom of the map, because you can see this is the Pacific, or this is the Atlantic Ocean's on the left side, the Pacific Ocean's on the right, and of course that's counter what you're used to seeing on a map. Not sure why they particularly did that. I do know that these land masses, I think, are reflecting what's really the Panama Canal, and if you were to revert it around, they would have had to rearrange some of their pieces. I get all that. So the game has several things. First of all, you got your lock system. A boat from the Pacific Ocean would travel along here and then along the outside until they get to the Atlantic, and then of course if they're coming the other way, It's just like a one-lane highway in each direction. Um, this here is the action board. This is where we're going to determine what action we're going to do, and it's going to be largely determined by these dice, which are going to be rolled ahead of time, and they're going to go into these different spots. So if I roll this die here, and I get a 4, it's going to go into the 4 spot, like that. That's how this is going to work. And the other scripted one I think did all that for you. Um, there are neutral ships in the game. We have some cruise ships, and we have some. This is a cargo ship, and then you also have military ships, and they're all going through the lock as well. So we each own companies. So the companies are called R, G, Y, and B. So it's just the colors. And so the red company has some ships of its own, and so we all have our own ships, and then there's some neutral ships, and they're all moving back and forth between the canal. And so this game is played over 3 rounds, and during those 3 rounds, we're going to be, picking up cargo and delivering them and fulfilling contracts, which are here. And so what this is saying is this is U.S. East. Um, it's a U.S. East contract, which is going to have a 4 and a 1. And so that's what these dice are for. You can set one of these to a 4 and another one to a 1, and then that represents the cargo that is, being loaded on a ship. And there's a couple of things going on. There's a maintenance cost if you go between rounds and don't have it fulfilled yet. That's the $4. But there's also the U.S. East thing is basically saying that you need to pick a ship that started from the U.S. East, which is here. So you got ships that are going to be in different sections. This is United States East. There's the European Union. You got China, and then you got U.S. West. So we'll get deeper into the contract stuff because there's a way you could still resolve this without. I think um, there's different ways to resolve contracts, and we'll just leave it at that for now. But just understand that there's going to be contracts on the board, and that's going to dictate like which actions you want to do as well. We all have stocks in our company. The stocks are worth $6 a share, and then they have a $3 dividend that they're going to pay out for $3 for each share. So right now we own 1 share of our company, and then there's 2 ships that the company owns. And basically, this is just supposed to show that there's a $3 dividend. I'm sorry, that the shares are worth $6, and then this I believe is at 18. We'll have to look that up, but I think it's 18, and we'll get there in a second. Now your player board, there's basically 2 things. Just like any good stock-driven game, you have your company, which is over here, and then you have your player board over here. 2 separate things. You can't mix your personal cash with your company cash. That's what this is. This is your personal cash. This is company cash. And I think the company cash is 6 because basically it represents that you bought 1 share, right? And so that 1 share actually, I know it's confusing. We personally own that share, so we should probably put that over here. This is the company shares that's sitting here. That should really sit here to represent the company, but or maybe yeah, we'll get into this in a second. Maybe this is supposed to represent the company and this represents us. Anyways, we'll figure it out. So there's a little bit of a mini game going on here. When you deliver contracts, remember how we had that one contract that said U.S. East? You can then put markers here after you deliver, and those markers are these things. So you get like this U.S. West marker. You can use it to cover U.S. West, for example. And then as you cover these, there's bonuses that you can get along the way. And all these bonuses are pretty awesome. Then if you do this whole column of the first column, this changes something I haven't explained yet and I won't get into. And then if you deliver cruise ships, you can get these bonuses over here. And that's what this symbol represents, is the cruise ship. So we'll get into a lot of the rules and stuff when we start playing. But the last thing to talk about is you do have a cargo warehouse. These are goods that if you don't deliver them by the end of the round, you're going to pay $5. Whereas these are goods that are waiting to be put into the cargo. You can move as many of these over as you like, but you're committing to deliver them, or otherwise you're going to pay $5. For as long as you keep them here, it's zero. So keeping your goods here may not be a bad idea. We got, and then we have a train system. Now this is mostly used for determining first player turn order, and we'll get into that in a little bit. There's some rewards that you can get from this as well, and any cubes that go here or any dice doesn't cost you anything. Okay, a lot of tokens, like I said, there's 3 rounds in the game. The player with the highest value stock is going to win money each round, and then that's what this represents. And like I said, these are tokens for when you earn when you deliver contracts, and then you earn these tokens when you deliver cruise ships. And without further ado, let's get going. So they do try to explain some of these things, and yeah, so it's actually the other way around. So the company assets is the board, the player assets is over here. so so that's why these are here, and that's why this is there. Um, I guess the thing I disagree with is this is the player assets, yes, but these ships belong to the company. Well, I guess they do belong to us. It doesn't matter. It's not like you sell the ships at the end of the game. So, anyways, they have these as player assets. We do have to determine number of players. The players do matter, and this game is best with 4. I would say 2 or 4. I'm not convinced that 3 is very good. This game requires symmetry, and 3 creates asymmetry. But we'll get into that. Okay, so this is just the overview, and then this is a view of the components. I didn't get into the cards, which you can see here. We'll get into those in a second. So the company always has, they have 3 types of ships. One with 3 slots, 2 slots, and 1. And you can see that the 1 slot is here. There's a 2 slot that's unlocked. These 2 you need to purchase. And I know it's hard to see, but this one's $7 and that one's $5 to purchase. Okay, there's 20 shares of stock, basically 5 each for each company, and then you got a bunch of flags. There's some wooden cubes, which are here, and then we got some discs, which I forgot what the discs are used for. Oh, they're up here. And then, a bunch of other tokens, which we'll get into later. In a 2-player game, things like the San Juan Prospector are out of the game, and a lot of these ships get removed from the game. It's just less fun. Having all these neutral ships in the game is part of what makes it more fun. Okay, setup. So they're telling you to divide the cards up, and then we're going to roll the 12 white dice for the action group. And I think they gave us 16, didn't they? I need to think about that. Oh, 1 second. All right, sorry about that. I got interrupted. So basically, we're going to divide our cards, which we already did. And I'll show you how in a second. So the cards are divided like so, and these have numbers on them. The highest number goes to the top. And then these, if you have them in person, there is a number on them, so you know which ones should be at the top and which ones aren't, but that's not the case here. But these ones are like the best deal. And I know you don't know what the best deal is, but half off is better than $3 off usually. And then, looks like there's 3 of those. So, now these are face up because basically when you deliver a size 1 ship, you're going to get to draw a card from the top of this deck. So whoever delivers first will get the top card, which is the best card. And then whoever delivers this one will get this card, which is considered to be the best card. It can be. And then this one here lets you draw these. Now these are secret, which is why they're face down. Alright, so what they're saying is we need to set aside 4 dice, and then all these need to be rolled. And so there's lots of rules around this. We'll get into them, but let's just roll and see what happens. So, okay, I just rolled everything. And then what you do is you take the dice and, for example, this is a 1, a 1, a 1, and there's one extra 1. So that moves over to the 2. Then a 2. And you can see here, it says if there's more results than the 3 spaces available, cascade the dice to the left from 6 to 1. And so I went the wrong direction. And so if there's any dice at the 1 pip, reverse the cascade to the right into the next column. So I'm going to wait on this one, but I think there's plenty of room here. So we got 2 3s. We got some 6s. And then we have a 4 and another 3. So you'll notice there's no 5 at all. Now there's 1, 2, 3. There's only 4 dice on this side, and they do have a mulligan rule. If after rolling all 16 dice, there are 4 or fewer dice on either side, re-roll all the dice. Well, there's not 4. There's 4 or fewer now, but we're going to see what happens when I roll this. And sure enough, more dice came out. So we got 6, 5, 4, 3. Now we're going to do this with every round. And these dice are your action dice. So when it's your turn, you're going to pick one of these, and that's going to dictate what you get to do during your turn. So anyways, that's step 1, 2, and 3. I have to pause 1 second. Okay, so that's step 1 was the cards. 2, 3 are setting up the action dice. So when we start round 1, this is actually the actions we're going to use. So this is legit. And just to point out, these 4 dice at the top are called executive dice, whereas all these other ones are just action dice. So that's the reason why the 4 was separate from the 12. Then it says place 1 flag matching each icon on the rail table. All that's saying is bing, 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 like this. And then there are 2 ocean zones. So it's basically saying there's a loading zone and a waiting zone, common to both nations. So it's saying that the loading zone is dark blue, and the waiting zone is light blue. So you stack the remaining flags. So right now this is a loading zone, and then once you get them loaded, you put them here in the waiting zone. And all that means, when they're in the waiting zone, they're just ready to go into the canal. Alright, so then it's just saying put the flags in each zone, which is already set up for you. And then put the ships in each zone, which you can see they have a whole list of them. The neutral ships, that's already done. Stack the passenger tokens, which actually I did right here. And shuffle the contract cards. Draw 3 and place them face up on the action table. And these, let's see. Why am I having trouble seeing this page? It's it's not even the full board. So if I go to the next page here, the contract cards, so you can see there's one. It's referring to these, right? Yes, but it's number 9. I know what it's doing. It's referring to these. Okay, so we take these contract cards. I'm going to shuffle them. And then, yes, 1 goes here. Actually, 1 goes there as well. I don't know why it's saying to do this. But then this one should also go here. Now, here's the way this works. These are the three contracts that are in the game. If I choose one of these dice, I get to take that contract. These are showing the next two contracts that are coming. So you get like a little bit of a foresight into what's coming. Because sometimes you're going to want an EU token. So you want an EU contract, which is separate from. And then, like these contracts, like I said, see how I can flip that over? Then it becomes a generic contract. It's not specific to a country. There's reasons why you would do one or the other. Um, we'll get into that when we play. So let's get back to the steps. It says draw one and place it in the inbound cargo space. And then every time a contract is selected, it'll be replaced by the inbound card. Managing Director awards are these things. Like I said, those are awards you get for having the best company. And we're all, by the way, all four players are Managing Directors. And then you can see it's 3, 5, and 7. The waterway and lock movement tokens are these things. So just place those there above and below the 0. You choose a company. Place 4 colored dice in the dice pool and remaining colored dice in the warehouse. So that's just saying here, 4 dice go here and 4 dice go there. Place a 1-slot ship with a 3-pip die on your spot on the board, and it shows this here, but let me show you. So the red player, for example, this is their ship, and if you look on the player board, there's a player 1 thing right here. So I can rotate it a bit, but it actually is supposed to look like this. So this here is in this lock. Actually, I would put it up here, and that player 1 shows that that's where you start the game. So then we go to player 2, which is green, and they would start where the player 2 is, and that's here. Okay, sorry, I had to deal with another interruption. But getting back to, oh, that's right, we were putting the ships out. And so we have player 2 is there, and then player 3 should be in the lake somewhere here. And then player 4 should be in this lake. Now, one thing to point out. Player 4 is the closest to finishing a delivery. They're just 3 spaces away. Player 1 has to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces. So player 1 has it a lot worse than player 2, at least from the start. And so, I'm sorry, player 4 has the best shot at getting this top card, which is the best card. And I think, so the logic here is I think he's rewarding the players based on turn order, right? So player 1, and just making sure that this is actually the order it should be. So we're going to go ahead and switch those two around. So player 1 gets the advantage of choosing any of these actions that he wants. Player 4 has to wait until 3 of these are gone before they even get a shot. So the compensation is their cargo is very close to delivery, whereas player 1 has to do a lot of work to deliver theirs. Okay? So just trying to point out how the game tries to balance some things. Alright, so then we get back to this. And so this ship here is built and ready to deploy, and I guess it is a player asset. These 2 ships would need to be purchased. Alright, each company has 4 shares of its color and has $18. Each player has 1 share and $6. So I got to do the same thing in all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's a little painful because I don't think I can just type. Oh yeah, now yeah I can. Hold on a second. There we go. Place the 4 wooden cubes. Here, deal 2 financial advisor cards face down to each player. That's these. So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Alright. Each player is going to look at their cards, choose one to keep, and pass the other to their left. Then each player is going to choose one of their 2 cards that they have and make it their goal. So you're only going to get to keep 1 card. You take one of the 2 you were dealt, you keep one, pass it, and then you're going to take the card that was passed to you and choose one of those 2. So you don't have to permanently keep the one that you kept. I know that sounds weird, but basically you get to see 3 cards by the time it's all said and done, and you're going to choose one. And then the other card that you don't choose goes face down on the board with the rest of these financial advisor cards. I think we've always played that we just put them at the bottom, but we're going to shuffle them in. Then we're going to shuffle the start contract cards and draw 1 for each player. We have to do this after they pick their goals, so we're not going to reveal this yet. And then each player in reverse turn order can choose 1 contract card and place it near your clipboard. Take dice of your color from the warehouse equal to the number of containers depicted on the card and set the value of each die as depicted. So basically, we get to take a contract card from these locations. Oh, I'm sorry. No. We're going to take these startup contract cards. We're going to draw 1 contract per player plus 1, and then in reverse turn order they're going to choose them. Yeah. Okay. Then you get to load those. So basically, you get to take a contract. Here, I'm going to show you one. We're going to get to take a contract, and you get to load those dice onto your ship. Because remember, you have a size 2 ship here, so you could load those dice onto your ship and be off on your way. You can also add additional ships if desired. Receive the flag if you empty the contract, which is this. All completed with no cargo in it and unused setup contract cards. Return to the game box. Basically just saying whichever ones we don't use, go back to the game box. And that's it. So then we'll get into playing the game and stuff in the next round. But the setup is almost over. So now we got to choose our goals and then do this. But we'll do that in the actual playthrough video. I'm going to go ahead and end this here. So thanks for watching. And my apologies for going through the rulebook so verbosely. But I haven't played this in a while, and so I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. There's always devil in the details. So anyways, thanks for watching. Stay awesome.